Venice has never much felt like a real place to me. Oh, you confused me a lot with all of your beauty. You made me wander around and got me thinking, what could I ever be in all of this? I've tried to understand you. Not sure I ever did. What did you even want from me? Must be you, the city of thousand mirrors, that has me meeting Bety. Eyes that strike, questioning. Bety Krňanská wears delicacy, as if it was a shield. Caught between worlds. Was there ever to escape? Battle lives in her paintings. Not a single canvas that would be one piece. Weapons that were held against her, she'd use for the storm.
I think it's also partially this thing that it's like the work you can see behind it, this like sewing patchwork thing, which is really precise and like you need a lot of time to do that. And this more expressive part, which is the painting on top of it. And I think these images are somehow like collected through the years in the memory, and then you are in a place where it all somehow like fits together. And it makes sense at that time,
so
you know?
much, yeah.
Like for me, this wouldn't make that much sense to do in Prague, or I wasn't thinking this way. But when I moved to Greece, it somehow was like more personal and more for the place and the time there. And also this experience as a woman living in Czechia in a more conservative way, and then you move to Greece, which is somehow more conservative, and all these images are somehow multiplied, and then they blur with other things you had in your mind but didn't know how to put them together. And for example, when I was spending a lot of time with my little son, I could be just, while he was sleeping, like do this manual like sewing part, you know, which is more like how do you say that? Like automatic, that you cut the pieces, you are sewing them. You don't need so much thing. You don't need so much like time for creativity. Yeah, but this part for painting, you really need to clear your mind.
Yeah.
And for me, I felt a bit anxious about it because I didn't know how to clear my mind while I am having this little one talking to me all the time. Yeah? So I found this way where I really can not focus that much, and I do something really automatically. And then I have another part which is just for me, where I don't need to like concentrate that much about how to say it? It's more that you have more time for yourself, and it goes in a more expressive way, let's say. That this energy is somehow like thrown there. The nature plays a big part in it, I think, and the water especially. And the technique I was using during the COVID, because we didn't have studio, I did a lot of watercolors, and this way I kind of get more familiar with this technique. And also I like how the different layers can be like washed out, and then you can work on the painting again, and then you can wash it out, and it always leaves some stains, like a part of the time which is like captured there, but the rest can be washed out. And this I found only with like inks and watercolors, because if you work with oil or acrylics, it's like when it's dried, you cannot like do with it much, and it's really needs more like of a focus what you're doing. And with aquarelle, it's more like natural. And the ornamental shapes are inspired by protective metal crafting. It's like functional protective layers, like bars or fences on the doors, which I remember through my whole childhood, because the Europe is basically full of it. But then you realize, like in Athens, that the architecture is really simple, and the really interesting parts are these details. So it's always looking for some kind of details which are kind of hidden in it, and the manual work on it. And the protective function, it's also part. For me, when I'm looking at my art, which I was doing in previous years, it really makes sense for me now. I couldn't explain why I was doing it before, maybe in some really simplistic way. But now when I'm looking at it, I'm like, where? And also that I know that I couldn't do it now, because it wouldn't make sense for me anymore. That you are, as a woman, also experiencing different phases and evolving and together with art.
Yeah.
And then it's always surprising that someone who is in art comes to you. It's like, it's not, how say that? You know, that they expect from you to really stuck with one thing and just keep doing it
yeah.
for the whole life. And
Yeah, to have this as your identity. It's already there. Stick with this.
Yes,
It functioned.
something else than art. It's the art is about creativity and really experimenting and keep doing different things which you wouldn't expect from yourself.
Yeah.
And I think this completely kills the vibe of it.
Yeah.
That you really, and I'm afraid of it, because I know that maybe this phase I have now is really getting comfortable, and I actually know what I'm doing more. But I'm like, I cannot imagine myself like keep doing it forever for the rest of my life. And then you have collectors who are like, but this is
I like that. Keep on doing this.
like I cannot do it.
That's a very beautiful thought, actually.
Evolving, you know,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
with every painting, you realize some detail or some moment which is really interesting, and then you want to try it in the next painting. And this is the evolution also of the process.
Would you say there's like a constant that always remains, whatever creative phase you're going into, or what you're going to tap into next?
I think always this amazing from the technology and how as a humanity we're going, and what the new things we are creating, and you're always like, wow, that's really interesting, and want to know more about it. But then always end up somehow in the roots, in the nature, and really like looking at the water or something really like, how do you say that? And natural. Yeah. Which always amazes you more somehow. It's just like new iPhone thing. You like it, and then after a few weeks you're like, yeah, that's just it. I'm gonna put it in my pocket. It knows so many things, and it's amazing. But then at the end you're always just like, look at the sunset. It's much more interesting.
Venice. How many times they've told you you would die. When you just changed. You never needed to be understood.